Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Social Marketing Academy. I am your host, Christopher Tompkins. We have a fantastic show today. We are going to talk about a lot about the ins and outs of media relations with my friend and expert, Patrick Farrell. Patrick's amazing. He has a wonderful agency and he has some really wonderful insight to share based off of your questions. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Patrick in just a minute or so. But again, just wanted to let you just reintroduce you to the Social Marketing Academy. We come to you live once a week, every Thursday evenings, and we have our live feed with the video, which you can see me right now waving at you, and you can also listen to our podcast. All of the content that we have of the show is available on demand on our YouTube channel, as well as anywhere podcasts are available. All you have to do is search for the Social Marketing Academy. Boom, subscribe, you're in there. So I just want to tell you a little bit about how you can engage with us. What I want to do with this show is I am opening up my Rolodex, so to speak, of my fantastic contacts that are in lots of different disciplines and really taking their insight. I go to these people when I have questions about their subject matter. After I was doing that for a while, I was thinking, why not open this up to everybody so everyone has the same level of access that I do? So we are opening up the floor to questions that we have all the time. So if there's any questions that you have about that you'd like to have answered by one of my my friends in my network that are experts in a future episode of the Social Marketing Academy, please let me know. Go to our website, gosalesandmarketing.com, and anywhere there, ask me a question. Click on any of our social media links in the top right-hand corner. Feel free to direct message me. A lot of you do that. And also, if you want to go through the contact form or the chat on our website, please do. Everything comes back to me. I promise. I get everything. So please do ask a question. If there's a topic that you'd like to have covered, please just ask me. We had some suggestions about affiliate marketing. I have my friend Leanne on. We had some questions about PR. I'm having my friend Patrick on. There's so many different things that we can cover on this show. So I really do want to answer what's most important to you. So before I go any further talking about the show, why don't we just get started, huh? I want to tell you a little bit more about Patrick. Okay, Patrick has spent 20 years in the public relations industry, servicing an array of clients in various sectors. His strengths and expertise are in the areas of media relations, that's where he's a real pro, communication strategy, and delivering clients relevant and consistent results. His experience has enabled him the ability to deliver insightful industry research and identify market trends in order to create relevant story angles for clients. Prior to establishing Sniper Public Relations, can you forget that name? I mean, it's pretty memorable, right? In 2009, Patrick was an account manager at a boutique technology public relations firm, and he supported strategic communications and media relations as the account lead for various startup clients in the consumer and technology marketplace. So he has a wealth of knowledge that he is going to be sharing on today's show, and I'm going to bring him in just a second. You folks post some phenomenal questions for Patrick, and I'm really excited to get up. Here he is. Patrick, welcome to the Social Marketing Academy.
Oh, great to be here. Thank you.
You are so welcome. I was just telling everybody about your experience in the industry and what you've been doing as a media relations expert. But just to get everybody just to know you a little bit more casually, can you just talk a little bit about your agency and your experience?
Yeah, sure. So we started Sniper Public Relations back in 2009, and what we really saw is a niche place and a niche opportunity for public relations and an agency that's different. Essentially, what we are is a virtual agency. So meaning we have no overhead from in the location. This whole idea of being remote is nothing new to us. We've been doing it for a while. But what we do is we offer really senior level counsel at a junior level price. And so what does that mean? What that means is a lot of times you go to a large agency and you have a smaller budget, and really they say, they can't take you on because you're too small,
right?
Or you're going to get stuck with someone with less experience because of what your budget entails. Well, we kind of flip that script in that we offer senior level. The lowest person on our team, basic experience wise, is 20 years.
Right.
And we're offering that at a junior level price, meaning, you're not paying the upcharge that you would normally for someone at that senior level. So it's really worked out well in that we can take on these smaller budgets. We can formulate a team really of all experts in the field that you need. And it works out great. So a day in my life, really what we do is we help clients really increase their visibility in their marketplace through various tools and means in order to reach their target audience, whether that be customers, whether that be investors, whether that be possible partners
Right.
Down the line. And depending on what their goals are, I mean, they might want to grow to go public. They might want to get acquired. I mean, those are realistic goals that a lot of companies have. And so we work with them and we work with their key messaging and we work with really in order to help them tell their story.
Yeah, which is the main goal, right?
Exactly.
There's a lot of trying to promote a brand that is putting their light under the bushel is kind of challenging, needless to say the least. So let's dive in. There's some questions that people ask. You were talking about kind of like working remote and
Sure.
the wonderful year that 2020 was. What a year! So what did you say in last year? What differences or what changes did you see in your industry and kind of and how your clients were viewing things through your lens, so to speak?
Well, it really as we know, there were a few things that definitely really drove the news cycle. And this is across everything. First off, we all know COVID was the thing that drove the news cycle. But beyond that, it was an election year. So it was, what's the election going to look like? What's going to happen with that? We all know how that turned out. But also things such as climate change, racial injustice, the economic downturn, people losing jobs. So all those things really were the main topics within the news. And so what we did is we talked to our clients and said, okay, where do we fit in these stories?
Yes.
And so for a lot of them, for example, I have a client in manufacturing,
right,
in supply chain. We all know what was going on with the supply chain. You go to the store, you didn't have toilet paper, right? we knew how that was.
Right.
So really they were talking about the importance of supply chain and really the importance of an operational restart. What did you learn from that you can take out of the situation to move forward to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Right.
And really talk about what companies can do there. We had, the Defense Act, which we know came to fruition, where companies such as some automotive companies who would normally make cars were making refrigerators for the COVID vaccine.
Right.
They were pivoting. That's a great story. A lot of companies were allowing their workers to work from home and really buying them what they needed, from double monitors to giving them accessibility like they were in the office. And I think out of that, actually, a lot of companies have learned, what, this might be a new way of working. And HR companies learned that, we don't have to pigeonhole ourselves anymore to go by location. We now have a vast network because of this new thing called remote working. So there were stories out of this that came everywhere.
I have a really odd question. It's not an odd question, but it's just something I've seen. I've seen not clients of mine because they would never do this, but just I've seen other companies do, which is, you were talking about the big themes. You're talking about COVID, the election, the Black Lives Matter movement, and equal rights, and all of the other big themes of 2020. I've seen a lot of companies try to hijack those themes in some way, shape, or form to their own benefit to promote them.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, it really is unfortunate. What is if a company says to you that is under your tutelage, or they're one of your clients, and they say, hey, you know what, we feel that we really can talk to the Black Lives Matter movement in terms of what our strategy, our message is. How do you vet that? And how, in a way, like, how do you see that it would be a good fit for somebody?
Well, first off, part of our job is to really put our reporter hat on,
Right.
right?
Right.
We what we have to be able to do is really poke holes in the story to see how it will fit and how it will be seen.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, really for something like that, we'd have to dive into, okay, well, how,
Mm-hmm.
well, why,
Right.
really, are you trying to grasp at straws? Are you trying to take advantage of a bad situation? How's it going to be perceived overall?
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, we want to have, our best interests for our client. And, if they're coming at it from a bad angle, well, that's going to affect their customers. Um, that's going to impact how they're being portrayed by their investors.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to be able to assist them in really steering their messaging in the right way to make sure it's not deemed in a negative light.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's something that we come across now and again with some of our clients that want to jump into trending stories,
Yes.
and it's kind of, there's like, when I posed the question to you, I said hijacking,
Yes.
which is basically you're taking a story that you have nothing to do with, and just trying to ride on the coattails of its
Mm-hmm.
success. And
Mm-hmm.
trending can be it can be the same thing. I mean,
There,
obviously, I think that there can be value in putting your nose
there
to the
can be
story.
value. And one of the things we specialize is being able to connect current trends with our really current trends with our clients and what they do. I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you a story. This is a story from back in the day.
Okay.
Back in the day, I was in agency life, and this is kind of what I love this story.
Okay.
I had a client that wanted to be in a high tier business press publication.
Mm-hmm.
They were actually an economic branch of a country, and so we dug and dug and dug and dug and dug and dug through stats. How can we do this? What can we do this and make it seem
Right.
okay? And with these stats, we found out that at the time, China was the next big economy. We found out of all the countries they were going to learn, they were going to this country to learn.
Mm.
And so we turned it into, well, this country was building the next boom economy. This is where they were getting educated. And that's how
Oh wow.
we got in. So it's how do you connect?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're not lying. You're not doing things like you're putting together the story.
Mm-hmm. Okay, when you're dealing with a client, this is another question that came from
Sure.
our listeners, viewers, our audience, is how can you, when you're engaging with a client, how do you come up with the perfect topics for the client? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what we would do is come up, first off, have brainstorms with the client, see things from their point of view. A lot of times, the questions that they're getting in their sales meetings. And how are they answering those questions?
Right.
Because I like to say it's, well, why do you matter?
Mm-hmm.
What can you do that your customer or your partner couldn't do before? Why do you matter to the problem? Why are you the solution?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do is we dive down to try to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be something as simple that, lots of time we hear, oh, well, we integrate better. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
Trying to dive down to simplify. And what I like to say, because I work with a lot of heavy technology companies, is you get them in the room and they speak what they speak, which is great, but understand you're talking to a different audience now.
Right.
So I like to say to them, explain this to how you would explain it to someone who's 10 years old. How would you explain this?
Right.
Because then let's build it up from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Because a lot sometimes you're too close to a project when you're within
You
a
are.
company, and
Yep.
it's hard to kind of articulate exactly without using. I mean, I was talking to a prospective client, and I was asking them to explain their business to me, and it was a very highly technical business, and they had no idea how to explain it to me, and it's right there. I'm kind of like, oh, that's a problem,
Well, and we help them through key messaging training, to really find those few points that they can talk to, and we help them develop that elevator pitch, if you will.
yeah, and it's really important to have that, especially because it's almost like you have to have like two different versions. You need to have the more universal version, and you can have the peer
Right,
version, so to speak.
right, right.
um so okay, so another one that we had is press releases. Press releases, anytime that I talk
Uh,
about PR is going to be something that's going to
does
come
it
up.
stand for press release? That's what I get all the time. PR stands for press release, right? No, no.
Well,
Um,
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that, oh well, I can just send it out. I mean, I've seen PR Newswire. I can just write something and just send it out. But when when should you issue a press release? I've seen I mean, I'm sure everyone that's out there has seen a press release from a company every time that they move two steps to the left, they're releasing a new press release. When, in your opinion, is a good time to issue one?
in my opinion, there's only really a few, and if it's not one of these, then it's a blog post, or it's a pitch, or it's something else.
Gotcha.
You either have earnings, you're a publicly traded company,
Right.
momentum kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You have a new C level, I stress C level executive,
Mm-hmm.
some type of appointment. You have a new product. You sign a new customer, or possibly you have a co-marketing deal with a partner,
Right.
or you've been acquired. Other than that,
Mm-hmm.
really, there's no need to do a press release. In my opinion, things that can be said in a blog, things that can be said in a pitch. There's various different ways to do things nowadays. You do videos, you do etc. It doesn't need to be a press release.
I completely agree with you, and I think something that one delineation I'd like to make that's very key that I want everyone to understand is that a press release is not a pitch; it's a news release, and a pitch is actually, for example, if you are doing something if you are I don't know, if you are a business and you're doing something charitable, and you want the news to come and cover it, that's more of a pitch. That it
Well, yeah,
can be
that
both,
that
actually, can
and
it?
that well that could be a what's called a media alert as well, like the who, what, when, where, etc.
Hmm.
But the pitch is basically what I'm writing to you to help spark your interest
Right.
in speaking with someone, or help spark your interest in attending an event, or help spark your interest in my press release, which is listed below.
Right.
So,
So, how about another question from the audience? What is one thing people might not know about PR that's important?
well, I kind of touched upon it a little bit earlier.
Hmm.
Um, PR is it's PR is never the same day to day.
Right.
Yeah, PR is really 24/7.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is, you know, what could be hot this week is not next week.
Right.
It's seen as old news. Um, Also, what I want to stress is, find out, if you're a company out there, find out why you matter to
Hmm.
to to your customers, to your target market, because too many times, you're all excited about a new product, this and that, blah blah blah,
Right.
but you know, okay, great. What can your customer, what can whoever this is for, do that they couldn't do before?
Right.
In so many simple ways, because a lot of times you're so excited about it,
Hmm.
and really it's not a big deal, or how do we make it a big deal? Because
Yeah.
we need to find out. I think though PR is definitely it's gotten faster.
Yes.
Um, it's changed a little bit in that sometimes as beats change and as media gets smaller and all those kind of
Yeah.
things, lots of times, they need the news. They need what's
Hmm.
newsworthy. They don't have the time to do, briefings like they used to do and just kind of informational.
Right.
Really, know what they're writing. Know what they're writing. I can't stress that enough. Read what they're writing. Be aware of what they're writing. There's no way, there's no secret sauce. If you have something that is of interest to them,
Hmm.
um, and you packaged it nicely and you've done your homework on them and you're aware of what they're writing, you're aware of what their style is,
Right.
you have a better chance than saying, okay, I wrote my pitch, let me throw it out to everybody. Let's
Right.
see what comes back. Let's cast the net. Because that does nothing for you either, because you're reaching publications or you're reaching your targets that really might not have an impact on who you are trying to reach.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's something else, like kind of like a follow up to one of the points you made about how fast things are moving. Um, one of the things I feel like is a bit of a misconception, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not the PR expert by any means. Here, I think because everything is moving so fast, clients tend to think that the results will come faster in terms of placements, in terms of anything, and that is not the case. Like, how do you kind of mitigate a client's expectations in terms of placements?
yeah, so when I say things happen fast, but at the same time, things can be delayed.
So
So
true.
let me give you an example where you can be in touch with a reporter and they have a tight deadline that they're working towards, or they might have a publication that goes bi-monthly. It's not for this month, it's for the next month because
Right.
they still got to get so ahead of themselves. And there's lots of times where, things pop up and they have to jump over what your story was
Right.
because they're so timely with the press. But what I advise people is be patient.
Hmm.
Um, your 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 PR practitioner will follow up, but it's like anything else. I mean, be patient. It will run. It is you just you can't time. Oh well, you need to run here because this is coming out here. You need to tell them to run it there. No, that's not how it works. That's a good way for it to ruin a
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah, it's very true. When you're talking to when a client when if you were to give advice to somebody that was considering PR, and what sort of timeline would you suggest that if they're looking to try to affect change in a certain month? Is there like a prep period that you would suggest, like a pre-production type
Yeah, if you're
schedule?
trying, sure. If you're trying to do something, I would say your first month with someone new that you started working with, should consider that a ramp up
Hmm.
for them to really learn about your business. They might have the best. Anyone could have the right contacts for you. I mean, you could speak to me, and I have great contacts in enterprise mobility, and I have great contacts in cloud and whatnot. If you don't have the right story, or we can't come up with the right story, it doesn't matter what I throw
Right.
at them. They're not going to run.
Hmm. Yep.
We need to find something that works for them, and you need to any uh, PR practitioner can have the contacts. The company, we need to work with you to get your story. And I could say, I can use examples just of my history where um, I didn't have experience in a certain field, but I had a great story.
Mm.
I knew how to do it with a great story, and the results spoke for themselves. Where we got 20 pieces of coverage. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's all about that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think it's something else, like just for anyone that's listening to kind of, if you're considering PR or or hiring an agency in general to do any of your marketing, you can't expect them just to dive in head first and start something
Yes,
immediately. It's because if you think about just because we're experts mean that you're going to an expert to help you out to execute something that is beyond your comfortability level, maybe even your bandwidth. Um, so understand that this is a new person that you're bringing in. If you bring in a new employee, even if you were to hire someone internally to be the head of marketing that would handle PR and whatever, they need to be they need to be trained. They need to they need to understand the ins and outs of your
right,
business.
right. I don't think this. I mean, lots of times, and I shouldn't say lots of times. Just say every now and then,
Yeah.
it's expected that, oh, I have a PR practitioner, and that somehow we have some special sauce that we just kind of go, fairy dust, and boom, there's the coverage.
Yep.
It happens. That's not how it works.
Well, it's the same thing on my end.
And I say to people, if you want guaranteed results, get, because you can't guarantee anything. I once had an acquisition happening for a client, and Steve Jobs died.
Mm,
You can't guarantee anything.
yeah.
And if you want to guarantee, I advise them, okay, well, let's talk about a paid program called advertising.
Yeah.
or an advertorial or something like that. That's
Yeah.
or some type of pay for play, because
Hmm.
that's a different story though.
Yeah, it is. And it's challenging to kind of just break the sad news that sometimes it does take a month to go into these hard topics and to do enough interviews with key staff members so you can
Mhm.
understand kind of like the ins and outs, because even like just even for me, because what I'm doing is mostly online.
Mhm.
It's almost like we were given a manual as to how everything should do, so we can just kind of just like, okay, new client, let's put it through the sausage machine.
Yeah,
And it's not like that. It's kind of like everyone's a unique snowflake in a snowstorm.
right,
It's trying to get to the gist, because of course anybody can jump on and do like a Mad Lib press release or a Mad Lib strategy where you just put it
right,
in different terms. But that doesn't have any legs, and that doesn't last or resonate with anybody.
right. Yeah, no, what I agree. And again, there's a ramp up period, but then you start to write things, and you start to reach
Hmm.
out to those, you start to formulate the story, and really after that it just starts to ramp up, and you go, and you might learn, what, this isn't working, we need to pivot, we need to do this isn't working, we need to do this, oh, this worked, let's keep going on that. So there's various different things, and I stress, really, it you can't, you're not going to get, you just signed up, with the PR person. The next week you're not getting the Wall Street Journal.
Yes.
That doesn't mean tomorrow. Tomorrow's the New York Times. That's not what this means. You
Oh my
know,
God, you're not going to get me on the Today Show next week? Oh my
right?
God, what am I paying you for?
Exactly, right. That's not how it is. But I'm not suggesting that can't be a goal. I'm not suggesting that can't be, what you're working towards or striving towards. But again, it's going to take time.
Of course. Yeah, totally makes sense. Okay, now talking about stories and telling your own story as a company, one question that came up a few times is, what is the one question companies should be asking in order to tell their story?
I think in order to tell your story, I would really do a key messaging session and find out um, from various different SMEs or C-level executives on what they think the story is,
Hmm.
and through brainstorm come up with, through that, to make sure we're all on the same playing field.
Right.
We're all in sync. We're all telling the same story, to come up really your key messaging and your elevator pitch. I really think those kind of things are important. Um, I really think, finding out the three key messages, along with the why do you matter, what's the big the big deal, if you will, um, and if possible, now I know this is difficult, but if possible, some type of third party reference
Mm,
where you have a customer that is able to say, yeah, this is great. This is what it did for us. So you have an analyst that said, this is why it's going to matter in the marketplace. And, that third party really is I think, helpful to be able to give your story validity, if you will.
yeah, no, totally makes sense. The another question kind of that I get quite often is people will start asking about PR to me, and I always refer out to you and the other people that are specialists, and they will ask me this question, and it's kind of like, am I too early for PR? Am I ready for PR? And
Mhm.
it's and and you're if say someone out there is listening to this and they are a startup,
Mhm.
and when is a good time for them to start wrapping PR into their storyline of
Well,
marketing?
Well, to answer you might be too early. There's
Mhm,
a good chance. I mean, the only way to really figure that out is to talk to someone.
mhm,
Any professional, is going to tell you and be honest with you,
mhm.
because it does no good to them if they say, yeah, no, you're great, you're fine, and then all of a sudden they can't do anything with it because you're too early.
Yep.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, it does no one any good. Um, I think they know their business. I think if they are in stealth mode, they should
Mhm.
start thinking about it. If they've gotten funding, they should start thinking about it. Um, if their product is ready to come to market, they should definitely be thinking about
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
That's probably a good time.
Mhm.
I think, there are, if you just, there are times where you might not have any customers. You're trying to, it's the old thing, we're trying to attract customers but we have no customers.
Mhm.
Okay, well, what does your solution do? Okay, well, who can
Right.
speak on its behalf? I mean, I joke around that, when companies say, oh, it's the greatest thing, ever about, this and that, and I say, well, yeah, I can tell you I'm the Queen of England, but unless you agree with me, no, I'm not. What I mean? So
Yeah. No, it's interesting because I think it's good for people to understand that if you because people will come to me as well and say, I want email marketing, or I want a Facebook campaign, or I want to start doing a blog. And if they're not ready, I tell them that they're not ready. So one thing,
honesty. It's all about honesty.
it is all about honesty, and I think that it's one. There's a slight misconception when you're dealing with an agency that we are like, "Woo, someone has business. We want to close it." We're interested to see if you're a good fit for us, and then we want to work with you based off of our expertise applying to your subject matter and your
Right.
business. So
Right.
that's why we're interested in working. It's not necessarily that everyone is so desperate and they're going to want to close everything. We
Right.
will actually give you an honest opinion as to what we think. I mean, we've had I think in the last month I've told about four or five different people that I've talked to on the phone. You're not ready right now. You should probably
Mhm.
focus on investing your money in these things first, and then when you're done, let's come back and let's talk.
Right.
And they're usually shocked that I'm doing that, and I'm saying no, I don't dislike you. I'm not like mad at you. I'm not trying to like fob you off on somebody else.
Right.
It's just I want you to make a sound investment when you're ready.
That's
And
it.
and some people need to do that. I mean, if people have, oh, this is a really good question for you because I get this too. Um, do you need to have a company website in order to execute a PR strategy?
Do you need it? No. Does it help? Yes.
Yes.
Because the number one thing someone's going to do is, if I send a pitch to someone, what's the first thing they do?
Click on the link.
They're going to go to the website, right? So I mean, yeah, have one.
Yeah, it's even if it's just a one pager or something, just having
Right.
anything that any sort of presence is useful. And also, if you're going to be doing PR, you're going to be building up the SEO and incoming links, inbound links to your
Exactly, because
website.
that's important to include all that in your pitches and your press release and your key messaging and everything.
Mhm.
So yes, that's
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
it's very key. Um, Before we sign off, Patrick, is there anything else in terms of PR that you feel like like is there like a misconception that you think people have out there that you would like to
I
clear up?
yeah, it's not a misconception, but we are not. I would say that a lot of times people think of PR as advertising, people think as PR as marketing, people think as PR
Yeah.
as all those kind of things.
Yep.
It's not. It's not. I think what PR can do is really help script the narrative, and really help your brand matter. Really help create visibility for your brand. Really that human to human connection we all have with brands.
Mm-hmm.
That's what PR does.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and where you know we we're definitely a different breed.
Mm-hmm.
We are feel that it's very important um, to get the story right, and we're passionate about what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We're very, very passionate. We have great stories of events we put on, great stories of companies we help get sold, great stories of companies we help help become public. I mean, it's if someone, I don't know, in your networks ever thinking about a, something they might want to do. I mean, this is a great career, and really it's a career that's always changing. I mean, who
Yeah.
would have thought back, as when Twitter launched, that Twitter would become that big of something. And now
Yeah.
you have different social media platforms where PR needs to be integrated, where it be TikTok, or where it be Instagram, or Facebook's kind of slid past a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, I can remember opening up a book called Vacant, and looking for my reporter's contact information.
Yep.
I can remember clipping out stories in the newspaper that my clients were in and measuring them,
Mm-hmm.
uh, much like you do with advertising.
Yeah.
So it's come a long way, and I'm really excited to see where it keeps going.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's what's so exciting about both of our industries is that it's a surprise every day when you wake up. It's kind of, what ride am I going to be on today? Sometimes it's the same ride, and sometimes it's a completely different ride that
Right,
you
right,
didn't
right.
expect.
No, and I think that's cool. I think that's exciting. I think
Me too.
there's nothing like um, waking up and getting that notification that the article that your client was quoted in ran, and there's
Mhm.
nothing like being able to send that over and being excited,
Oh
and
yeah.
really monitoring Twitter, seeing all the tweets coming in about it, really, and to know that you played an important role in that. That's
Oh
something.
yeah.
It's I'm going to tell you, if my boss is gonna, it's wicked cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's wicked cool. So
Oh, okay, I have kind of like a final shot answer.
yeah, go.
This is something I think it's kind of, I definitely think as an expert that you can speak to. Um, when somebody is going to a PR agency,
Mhm.
um, what are the things that they should look for in terms of vetting the PR agency? What are some important things that they can
Yeah,
look for?
I mean, it's like any interview. They should look to see if they're a good fit.
Hmm.
And really, and what that means is, how do they know your business, or how do they know your industry, or um, are they a good fit, personality wise? Because that happens too.
Yeah, that's
Um,
important.
it's all important. I think obviously cost is going to be a concern.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a larger budget, you can definitely do more.
Hmm.
If you have a smaller budget, okay, you might have to pick up some of the weight.
Hmm.
Um, Really, I think there are lots of good agencies out there,
Hmm.
lots of great agencies, and um, I think talk to them.
Mhm.
Just talk to them. They'll be upfront with you. I think they're really there to help, and they're really great at their jobs.
Yeah, and I think that that's the point. I think the point is talk with them.
Yeah,
Go have a two-way communication. Make
I
sure, one of the things I've seen a lot of times is, um, and this is where I will really slow down the sales process, or the just kind of like the discovery phase of the call, when they say, "Hey, my boss said I have to do Facebook. So I have like $1,500. Can you do it?"
Mhm.
Hmm, 1 minute. So let's learn a little bit more about you. Is Facebook where
Right,
you need to be? And
right.
kind of like, if someone's ready just to take your money, it's a little bit of a challenge. I think having those conversations and asking questions so you feel comfortable.
It
You don't need
is.
to know everything. Just
It is.
feel comfortable and
And,
know, be a part of the process.
and I'll be honest with you, Christopher. I joke around. I'll talk to anyone.
Yep.
I'll talk to anybody.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the only way you're going to find anything out. So
No, it's totally true. And I think that just having that open communication and being able to get clued in as to how it's going to work for your business is really important. Because I'm really big on like being almost a collaborating with the client, and sometimes that can be a little bit of a dirty word, a dirty term, because they will feel, oh, collaborating. No, I'm paying you to do it. And it's like, well, hold on.
right, right, but that's a good point. I mean, we see ourselves as extensions of your marketing team.
Absolutely.
That's how we approach things. If it's good for you, it's good for us. We are an extension of our marketing teams, and that works because a lot of the times, it gives us the ability to be, really be embedded in their business, in what's going on. I always tell everyone that I work with, oh, is this useful? Send it over. I'll tell you if it's not. Send it over. Let me dive in. I'll tell you if it's not. But really, if you're seen as an outsider, there's always a gate. If you're
Yeah,
seeing someone that's integrated, that's best.
absolutely. Well, Patrick, thanks so much for being on the show with us today. Where can people learn more about Sniper Public Relations?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can send me an email at pfarrell@sniperpr.com. Our website is sniperpr.com. And you can follow us on Twitter at sniper_PR. Find us there.
And folks, and you can find all of those links in the description of this show. So click them through and find out more about Patrick and his team at Sniper Public Relations. Again, Patrick, thanks so much. You've been a fantastic guest. I think you've answered all the questions that our audience has posed. So thank you so much for that.
Great.
And folks, we have some really fantastic shows coming up in the future on the Social Marketing Academy. We are going to be talking of an array of topics. Again, if you want to ask any questions or have any topics covered, please get in touch with me directly. You can contact me everywhere. Look, Google me. I don't know. Go to my website, gosalesandmarketing.com. That's the website for the Go Agency. Click the social links, send a contact us form message to me, use the chat feature. I mean, it's going to get to me. Ask any questions that you want about offline or online advertising. Doesn't really matter. I have a large network of people that can help. Also, while you're there, there's an e-course that's available right now, and check out the blog as well. Patrick, again, you've been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
very much.
joining us on
All
Social
right.
Marketing Academy. Okay, folks, I can't stop and I won't stop, but I gotta go. Till next time.
Bye-bye.